These budget wireless mice are some of the best I've found, but I wanted to know that can a budget mouse actually stand up against some of the best mice out at the moment. We are taking a look at the Darmoshark M3, the VGN DragonFly F1 Pro Max, the Ajazz AJ199, the Zaopin Z1 and the CoolerMaster MM712. All of these mice have actually something special about them, be it the shape or the performance. Let's discuss the shapes of these 5 mice a little bit, and we can start from the Darmoshark M3, and this is a very large mouse. If you basically are aware of the A58, this is basically that. So it is a very large mouse, mainly suitable for relaxed clawing and palm gripping, but not much else in my opinion. You can still aggressive claw this mouse quite well, but it's not too comfortable. For me at least, with 19x10cm hands. Then let's move on to the VGN DragonFly F1, and this is an interesting shape. It somewhat reminds you of a GPX, but again not really, as there are some curvature on the sides which the GPX has none. There is quite a lot of curvature on the buttons, which is very comfortable for me with this mouse. It is very comfortable for any kind of claw, so relaxed claw, aggressive claw. You can even pull off a pincer claw with this mouse, and it's usable even for fingertip grip. The mouse is basically all over very rounded, so there are no sharp edges anywhere to be found. So I would say this is a very safe shape and extremely comfortable. Then we have the CoolerMaster MM712, and this shape we have seen before with different models on the CoolerMaster, for example MM720 and 711. It's a very comfortable claw grip shape where the hump is more towards the back of the mouse and it's quite wide. So it can remind you of the Zowie S2 a little bit. I can somewhat relax claw it, but this mouse has an issue for me, which is the top right, front right corner right here. So it has this button design here, which is very weird for me, and this causes the issue that there is very limited space right here on the corner. So relaxed clawing the mouse can be an issue. Overall, this shape is mainly for a claw grip and preferable for the aggressive claw. You can pull off and pincer claw quite easily. And also you can fingertip grip this shape as well. Next up is the Ajazz AJ199, and this is my favorite shape of all of these. It's somewhat similar to the MM712, but the hump is not quite as far back as on the MM712. And it's more thinner overall, so it feels very comfortable. It sort of feels like a higher profile Pulsar X2 Mini with curvature where I would want them to be, so there is more side curvature right here, making it very comfortable to grip the mouse. And again, for my 19x10cm hands, this is a very good claw grip shape, suitable for relaxed claw, aggressive claw, but not so much for pincer claw because the hump is more towards the middle right here. Lastly, the Zaopin Z1 is an egg shape, and it's pretty much an Orochi and a Fantech Aria clone. It is smaller than the Fantech Aria, so if you had bought that and felt that it is a little bit too thick, maybe a little bit too large overall, the Zaopin Z1 might just be a better fit for you. The shape feels very nice, but then again, so does the Aria for me. Yet again, I think that this is mainly a claw grip mouse. I do think it's suitable for fingertip grip as well, but the weight might not be optimal. And from that, let's check the weights of these mice. So this is the Zaopin Z1, and it's about 68 grams on my scale. The Darmoshark M3, 59 grams on my scale, so this is a massive mouse, but it's less heavy, lighter than the Z1. Then we have the Ajazz AJ199, 63 grams. Then the CoolerMaster MM712 on my scale is about 63 grams. And lastly we have the VGN DragonFly F1, which is 54 grams. In use, I have to be honest that I do not notice that big of a difference between the Zaopin Z1, for example, the VGN and the AJ199. I do feel that the Z1 is heavier than the VGN DragonFly, but there is not a massive difference. The MM712 feels quite lightweight and well balanced for me. The balancing is really not a massive issue on any of these mice, especially if you claw grip. The AJ199 feels a little bit back heavy, but it shouldn't matter at all to you if you claw the mouse. If weight and weight balance is extremely important for you, the Darmoshark M3 will feel very nice. Let's move on and check out the tech and the performance. All of these mice have decent components, so the Z1 and the AJ199 have a Compex MCU, and the DragonFly and the MM712 have a Nordic MCU, and then the Darmoshark M3 has one from Telink. The MM712 has a 3370 sensor and all the other mice have a 3395. And when we look at the achieved performance in terms of motion latency, the Darmoshark M3, for example, is very impressive. And even for the rest of the mice, the motion latency is very respectable. If we take an overall look at how good these results are, the Darmoshark M3 has almost the same motion latency as the GPX. Then again, the MM712 has the same latency as the Pulsar X2 with MS on, and the rest of the mice perform pretty much as expected from Compex mice. And to be clear, even though the VGN DragonFly has a Nordic MCU, the firmware solution is still provided by Compex. Overall, I can't find any critical issues, which is very nice to see. For the click latency then again, we are again looking at fairly impressive numbers from the Darmoshark M3, and all the rest of the mice also perform good, so there is nothing to complain about the click latency. Overall, this is very impressive, especially when we look at the pricing of these products. It can of course vary quite a bit depending on where you live, but for example MechKeys is a very good place to buy these mice from, and if you are European, MechKeys is also one option. The MM712 is one mouse that's not available on either one of these sites, but you can find it pretty much all over the world from Amazon and such, and also quite often on sale. Let's move on and talk quickly about quality, which is pretty hard to talk about for these budget mice because there is so much unit-to-unit variance. But for me, there are really no large issues with these mice, so all the clicks on all of these are quite fine, side buttons feel decent, scroll wheel feels decent. The main thing to mention is that the Darmoshark M3 has quite heavy clicks and these are not something I would enjoy in-game. Also the feet on some of these mice are absolute garbage, for example the Ajazz AJ199 has basically the worst stock feet in ages that I've tried. One thing to mention is that the VGN DragonFly F1 Pro feels the most premium out of these mice. It has this soft touch kind of finish which is not as good as VGN's or even on the Super Light, but still feels nice and at least not plastic like the rest of these mice. Overall, I would say that these mice are fairly impressive. With this kind of pricing, you can't really expect these mice to perform just like the best 4K mice or anything like that. But some of these, for example, have the same components and the same performance as Pulsar and Lamzu mice. Just quite a bit cheaper, depending on where you live, of course. Now there are actually 4K versions out of many of these mice, so let me know in the comment section down below if you would want for me to check out the performance of those. All in all, I can pretty much recommend any of these if you can find them for a good price, but it would have to be some kind of a miracle for me to use one of these budget mice because I have so many premium tier high-end gaming mice around me right here. For example, the NP01S wireless, which has a very nice coding, very nice clicks, very good performance. There is just no reason for me to switch out from this to any of these budget mice. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one.